Thank you, everyone, for being here this afternoon. Sorry I held you up. It is all of these folks were actually here on time. It was me. We have a quite exciting announcement to make today, and I'm sure there's been materials all over the place. But to be in this place at this time is certainly for me be one of the highlights of my entire public service career, both elective and just being involved in politics here in the city. Let me thank a couple folks, and then I have some remarks to make. You're going to hear from a few other folks who are here. Our DHS Commissioner Anne Marie Ambrose, her personal leadership, her team's leadership, and the dedication and commitment to the children and families of this city. You'll hear from her in a second, but please recognize Commissioner Anne Marie Ambrose. We're also honored. I have come to know him very well in a pretty short period of time, but the reason I've gotten to know him so well is because he is so open, he is so giving, he is so sharing, literally from the first time that we met, and has been a strong partner with us. He, in characteristic fashion, as we were walking down the hallway, mentioned that he's just pleased that Casey Family Programs has been able to provide some support to the city. I said, Dr. Bell, you saying that is like saying that Michael Jordan kind of played basketball for a little while, but a true friend, a true partner, an incredible professional and personal champion for children and families all across the United States of America. Please give a very warm Philadelphia welcome to Dr. William C. Bell. Also, another great partner who could not be with us today, but really wanted to be, and he is firm, he is strong, he is funny in his own way, but he is so serious, and that is Judge Kevin Doherty, who works very closely with all of us, and so even in his absence, let us please give Judge Doherty a big round of applause. One of many reasons that I get to make big announcements like today is because we are surrounded by so much talent in this city government. And I always tease him. I won't totally embarrass him here today by telling the whole story, but I'll just refer to him as the one they said would never come. And somehow, some way, he said yes. And left an incredible practice, left incredible service out in West Philadelphia, and I think it was just yesterday we received notice that U.S. News and World Report announced, I believe yesterday, that the place where we took him from, Children's Hospital Philadelphia, is the #1 children's hospital in the United States of America. And we're fortunate to have Dr. Don Schwartz here with us. Now, here's one that I think a few years ago, no one would think I'd be able to introduce this person, and certainly that we would be on the same side of the podium at the same time. And that is, of course, a great friend to Philadelphia, Kathy Utz, who's the acting Deputy Secretary of the Department of Public Welfare for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Office of Children, Youth, and Families, a great partner with the City of Philadelphia as we all serve our children and our families. Please recognize Kathy Utz. Friend to all, and I think I've never heard the word no coming out of her mouth, is Carol Tracy, who of course is a member of our Community Oversight Board, but has a number of hats and does a bunch of different things in Philadelphia. And I want to thank Carol for her work here in the city. Chris Bean, who is a member of the Foundation Strategic Consulting Group for the Annie E. Casey Foundation. Chris, thank you very much. See, we have this thing that folks who do really great stuff, when they try to hide, we then call them out, and then we call for a round of applause, and then we just embarrass them and make them come up. Dr. Arthur Evans, thank you for being here and the leadership that you've been providing. And in many instances, of course, we have people around the country looking at the work of Dr. Arthur Evans and his team, groundbreaking work in the vanguard of looking after people who may have some personal challenges in their lives. Please recognize Dr. Arthur Evans. So this may, I'm going to tell you up front, this may get to be somewhat personal and emotional. Are you speaking? Yes. Okay, because they don't have me. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. So, as all of you know, over the last 6 years, 5.5 years, under the great leadership of Commissioner Anne Marie Ambrose, the Philadelphia Department of Human Services has transformed itself from an agency with too many shortcomings into an agency of great success. Today, the Department of Human Services is better, is more productive, is more efficient as an agency that will remain focused on the #1 job at hand, protecting and serving the best interests of Philadelphia's children and our families. DHS has made tremendous strides in reducing the number of children placed outside of their families, increasing the number of children who are placed permanently in homes, and decreasing the percentage of children in care for more than 5 years. Last summer, the city broke ground on a new headquarters that will co-locate child advocates from PCA, DHS workers, members of the Philadelphia Police Department's Special Victims Unit, and representatives from the District Attorney's Office to better serve child victims of sexual abuse. We've been talking about this for at least 2 decades in Philadelphia. It's about to happen. In April, I received the Community Oversight Board's 2013 annual report, which commended the Department of Human Services for its significant progress in implementing the 37 recommendations from the Child Welfare Review Panel. I'm incredibly proud of the exceptional work being done by the Department of Human Services for the health, safety, and welfare of our city's most vulnerable children. This work should not go unnoticed, and today it won't. I certainly have now the privilege of announcing the Philadelphia Department of Human Services is the recipient of the 2013 United Nations Public Service Award, second place, for improving the delivery of public services for the North America-Europe region. DHS was selected for the systemic reforms implemented over the last 6 years and its Improving Outcomes for Children Initiative, IOC, a new process that shifts DHS's management system into a single case management system which allows select service providers to directly manage services under the supervision of DHS staff. Commissioner Ambrose will tell you more about improving outcomes for children in a few minutes. DHS received this award today for demonstrating excellence in serving the public interest. The UN Public Service Award, quote, rewards the creative achievements and contributions of public service institutions that lead to a more effective and responsive public administration in countries worldwide. More than 600 organizations from 82 countries applied for this award. But it was the dedication, enthusiasm, and sense of purpose of our DHS staff, the unparalleled leadership of Commissioner Ambrose, and the revamped standards of programs and accountability that made our Department of Human Services stand out. Commissioner Ambrose will travel to the Kingdom of Bahrain later this month to receive the award on behalf of the Department of Human Services and the City of Philadelphia. She did not invite me. That's actually not true. I'm just teasing her. This award would not have been made possible without the support of Justice Max Baer, Pennsylvania State Supreme Court, Casey Family Programs, Annie E. Casey Foundation, the Pew Charitable Trust, the William Penn Foundation, the Philadelphia Community Oversight Board, and our many, many community-based partners. I also want to take a moment to thank the members of the Community Oversight Board who work in close partnership with DHS and monitor the implementation of the Child Welfare Review Panel recommendations. And I especially want to thank David Saunders, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, but is often in Philadelphia, flying in from California on a regular basis to provide his leadership as the chair of the Community Oversight Board. And some of you may not remember, but technically, the Community Oversight Board was actually supposed to go out of existence probably a year or two ago. Now, the members remember this. And Anne Marie and Don and I talked about this, and they said, well, you know, it's actually scheduled to go out of existence. And they've accomplished many of their responsibilities, and the department is well on its way to implementing many of the recommendations from the Child Welfare Review Panel. And we talked about it, and I said, we should always keep our collective feet to the fire, that we have an obligation to the children and families of this city, and notwithstanding whether it's supposed to go out of existence or not, if we can convince these members to stay with us, stay on our case, push us to do better, to do more, to be stronger, to deliver better service, then we should ask them to stay. And I asked them to stay, and they said yes. And for that, we owe all of them a great debt of gratitude. Please recognize the Community Oversight Board. The Department of Human Services is truly deserving of this great honor. It's a quite prestigious international award. Let me now ask, again, our good friend, Dr. William Bell, President and CEO of Casey Family Programs, to come to the podium, and then after him, as I was instructed, and then Commissioner Ambrose will come up after Dr. Bell. Dr. Bell.
It's an honor to be here with you in the great city of Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, to congratulate the mayor and Commissioner Ambrose on receiving this award. But what's more important for me is what's behind the award and why Philadelphia is the only recipient in North America. The only recipient in North America. And, you know, I would be challenged if I stood here to suggest that William Bell has done so much. I'd like to introduce Zainab Shaheen, who is our Managing Director for Strategic Consulting, who has been here every day that Anne Marie has been here, and that they have worked tirelessly together to promote change in this great city. I'd also like to introduce Fran Gutterman, who, as a senior director, has also been a part of this great team here. And, you know, for me, at Casey Family Programs, we simply believe that every child in America deserves to be raised in a community of hope. And a community of hope is a place where every child knows that there is at least one adult who would be willing to put their life on the line for that child's success. And far too many of our children in this country are living every day, struggling so much with survival that they don't know yet how to dream. The great Langston Hughes wrote this poem asking what happens to a dream deferred. Well, we've asked the question, what happens to the dreamer who is so caught up in living every day, survival every day, that they don't even know how to dream? And so we stand here today in support of Philadelphia and honoring them for this achievement because unlike any place in this country, you have taken on the challenge of bringing hope to your most vulnerable children. And someone once said that if you remove hope from the heart of a man, then you render him a beast of prey. Too many of our children are looked at today as though they are beasts of prey. Too many of our young men are shooting other young men today. But I am thankful that there is a beacon of hope in the city of brotherly love that is saying all of our children will know the hope of my children. And that is the greatest thing that you can give any one child in this city. Give them the same hope that you would want for your own child. And so I say, Mayor, congratulations. Thank you for your diligence and your hard work. And Casey will always be in your corner and supporting the work that you're doing here in this great city. Anne Marie, thank you for your leadership.
I'm going to ask Commissioner Ambrose to come up in a second, but I have one other thing that I have to do. And some of you, because we're Philadelphians, some might say that this might be kind of a little corny, but we think it's important nonetheless. And for all that he has done for us, I have a little token of appreciation to give to Dr. Bell, and it will be actually a bell for Dr. Bell. This, of course, is the most recognized symbol in the United States of America, the Liberty Bell. And Philadelphia, of course, is the birthplace of freedom, liberty, and democracy. Dr. Bell, what you do for us and what your team does is provide not only that sense of hope, but the ability to enjoy freedom, liberty, and democracy. And so on behalf of a very grateful city, 1.5 million people and growing, the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, I give you this bell as a token of our appreciation. So 6 years ago, before I became mayor, in the fall of 2007, certainly was not taking anything for granted, but I thought after getting through the Democratic primary, given just kind of the numbers in Philadelphia, I thought I might have somewhat of a decent chance of maybe winning the general election, and started to think about the future. Started to think about, if I was so lucky, how do you put together a government? How do you get really great people to come and serve and take on challenge? And I knew at the time that there were certainly a couple of really big positions that would need to be filled. Certainly one was the police commissioner. The commissioner then at that time had said that he was retiring. One was the health commissioner, and one was the DHS commissioner. And as I've mentioned on a couple occasions, and I've talked about Don and the conversations that we had, and I was so excited when he said yes. And certainly you know that it is tough finding a great police commissioner, but we did in Police Commissioner Ramsey. But the truth of the matter is that it actually took longer to find a great DHS commissioner than it took to find a great police commissioner. This is tremendously intense work. There aren't that many people that can really do it and do it well. And this was not about filling a position. This was going to be about taking on a mission, and that you had to have the right person with the right skills and the right leadership and the right attitude. And I met with a lot of different people. I took a very, very personal interest in this selection. And had a lot of conversations with outside folks and inside folks, and we really searched. And the fact of the matter is that what we didn't realize at the time was that actually the best person was literally right in our backyard, and that was Anne Marie Ambrose. And 5 years ago, I asked her to become the commissioner of the Department of Human Services. 5 years ago this month. 5 years ago this month. And she said yes. And a month later, a grand jury report came out about an incident and a tragedy that took place in the city a few years before that. She was not the commissioner, I was not the mayor. But we talked about the kinds of things that we would need to do to really turn this agency around. And the kind of leadership it would take, the kind of risk-taking it would take, the kind of support it would take. And I said to her, and she said to me, if you're prepared to do this, that you will have every bit of support and backup that you need to do what you think is the right thing for children and families in this city. And there will be some people who will be upset, and there will be some people who don't like change. I said, I understand that. But I also said to her that there are really only there are really only three people who can tell you to stop doing something. Don Schwartz, at the time Clay Armbruster, or me. And unless you hear from one of the three of us, you keep doing what you're doing. Turn this place around. Don't worry about the critics. Don't worry about the adults. This is about children in this city. You're running a public safety agency responsible for the health and welfare and the safety of these children. Our social workers go into neighborhoods at 2 in the afternoon or 2 in the morning. They don't have a badge or a gun. They have to do some things and take actions that people won't like because people do some really bad things to children. And that's what she's done. And 5 years later, the United Nations is recognizing her work and her commitment in this department. Anne Marie Ambrose.
So the mayor went out of order again. So despite our best efforts, the mayor went out of order again, but that's okay. I'm going to defer my comments for 1 second and invite Carol Tracy, who is, Kathy, see, I went out of order too. It's not just him, it's me. Introducing Kathy is a thrill to me because when I worked for the state for 2 years and 8 months, some of the longest experience of my life, Kathy was my buddy, and we hung out together, and now she's the Deputy Secretary for the Office of Children, Youth, and Families at the Department of Public Welfare, and many of her staff are in the room, and they've been incredibly supportive of the work that we're doing and the transformation of this agency, and have tried the best they can to think creatively with us on how we can best serve Philadelphia's children and families, so I'm thrilled that Kathy could make it here today.
I told the mayor that he stole Annie a little too soon for my taste. She did not invite me to go on the trip, and that's true. So I'm just letting you know. But it really is an honor to be here today with all of you and to represent the Pennsylvania Department of Public Welfare and congratulating the City of Philadelphia and the Department of Human Services on this really prestigious award. Protecting Pennsylvania's children is really a responsibility of state, county, city governments, communities, neighborhoods, and private citizens. And under the leadership of Mayor Nutter and Commissioner Ambrose, the Department of Human Services over the past 5 or 6 years has really worked to strengthen their local partnerships to improve the delivery of quality services to the children and families of the City of Philadelphia. Those partnerships have really led to creative and innovative approaches that have cultivated local resources that engage families and systems as partners in sustaining change. Too often, our systems focus on the needs and the changes that our consumers need to make. Commissioner Ambrose recognized the need to look within our own system, first to determine what changes needed to be made at the level of the Department of Human Services to really support the direct line staff as they went into those homes, as Mayor Nutter talked about, at 2 in the afternoon or 2 in the morning. She recognized really the need to look to identify what services and supports her staff needed to be able to do the work at that local level. And as we look to make the changes that we want to be in our system and society, I think it's really important that we first look within ourselves. Each day, she is a champion of change across not only your great city, but across the state and this nation. It's an honor to work with her each and every day. I wish she was still with us some days, but really it is an honor. And not only is it a tribute to the Mayor Nutter and Commissioner Ambrose, it really is her leadership team, and more importantly to each and every one of the direct line staff at the City of Philadelphia. So congratulations on this great award.
Thank you. I'm Carol Tracy, and it's my honor to speak on behalf of the Community Oversight Board. I was appointed in 2007 to the Child Welfare Review Panel, and I think I can say on behalf of other panelists who were here, Frank Cervone, Cindy Christian, and dear Arthur, who was acting director at DHS at the time, that this is not the same agency that it was in 2005, 2007. And that's not to say that the people then and the people now who work in this agency are not wonderful, hardworking, committed people to the cause of child welfare. But what Annie has provided is much more structure. She came to a department that had inadequate leadership, virtually no formal accountability structure, and very poor labor management relations, and has created an organization in which leadership, management, accountability, and transparency to the extent that the law allows now exists. And Annie sought out experts in the field, and we have been so fortunate, of course, to have the leadership of David Sanders and the support of Casey Family Services. And I must add one other sentence to your conversation with David Sanders about keeping the Community Oversight Board in place. Mayor Nutter said to David Sanders that he wanted, it was his highest priority, to have the best child welfare agency in the country. And David Sanders said to those of us on the COB board, what other mayor has that as the highest priority? How could we possibly say no to continuing? So it has been our honor and our privilege. And through this, the support that Annie has gotten from the mayor and from Deputy Mayor Schwartz, and also from the experts around the country, some of whom sit on the Community Oversight Board and who come to us through Casey Family Services and the other foundation support, has been amazing. But what's important about that is that Annie listens. And she listens to the experts, but she also listens to her own staff and her own employees. But most important, and fundamentally the most important, is she listens to the families that DHS serves. And not only does she listen, but she has learned from it. Now, I'm sure you will hear this from Annie, but perhaps not today, but I will tell you she's never satisfied. She always knows we have to do better. She understands that transformation is an ongoing process, and she very clearly conveys that to her staff. I think I can say that without fear of any contradiction. But Annie, as a leader, also has backbone, and that's an attribute that's frequently missing in managers. She's willing to make the tough decisions. But what I appreciate most about Annie is even though she's the commissioner, she has never, ever stopped being a child advocate. And it is my pleasure to introduce Anne Marie Ambrose.
So enough about me already, because actually I think what this has been about is a transformation of a child welfare system that wasn't fulfilling our promise to children and families in Philadelphia. And we had lost a lot of credibility with city partners, with children and families, with providers, with staff. And I think that what we've tried to do is build, I think, the best leadership team in the city who has delivered on behalf of children and families, and many of them are in the room today, and they are incredible. So if they would please stand so we can give them a round of applause, I would appreciate it. Do not be shy. DHS, stand up. Oh, you're not all standing. Brenda, Pat, Yvette, Lori, the law department, Barbara. So I don't think any leader can accomplish anything unless they have the right team. Paul, I see you on the wrong side of the room, of course. They have constantly done all the work. I think I do have vision as a leadership person, but they have really just done above and beyond what anyone could expect, and it's really a tribute to them that we receive this award, and I'm pleased to work with them every single day. Providers, many of whom are in the room, who I truly appreciate their advice and counsel, Dr. Williams and other folks that I see here, Roberta Trombetta, lots of amazing folks. System partners, Karen Lynch with the school district, Joan Ernie, we talked about Dr. Evans. I mean, just this system has tentacles all over the place, and I think we're only as good as the other people who touch the lives of children in Philadelphia. And so I value all of your help and guidance and support. Casey Family Programs has been here every step of the way for me. So Zainab was at my announcement, and Fran is always with us. I wish David Sanders was here, because I think of him, he would laugh if I said this, as like sort of the rock star of child welfare. If you saw him, you would never say that, but he's amazing in every single way, and the fact that he has volunteered his services as the chair of the Community Oversight Board for as long as he has is just a tribute to his commitment to children and families, not only in Philadelphia, but throughout this nation, and the work that they've done is exceptional. Chris Behan, who is my new buddy from the Casey family, who's been with us a little over a year, has done amazing work with his team of folks from Annie E. Casey Foundation, and we're really excited about that partnership and so happy to have you working with us in Philadelphia. The mayor mentioned, and you're going to get mad at me, Mayor, but I'm going to thank a lot of people today. Judge Doherty. So his daughter is graduating from 8th grade today, so congratulations to her. He has been by our side every step of the way. One of the questions in my interview with the mayor was, what would you do if the judge called you and there was a worker being held in contempt? That's how bad things were when we were working with the court before then, and so things are very different now, and he's been a true partner in improving services to children and families, and so so sad that he's not here. Justice Baer, who provided a letter of recommendation to us and has done amazing work with the Court Improvement Project, has led the way in thinking differently about how we deliver services in Pennsylvania, and has been a great support to Judge Doherty and I. Bev Macarith, who's the secretary for the Department of Public Welfare now, who Kathy works for, has also had similar philosophies to what we've tried to implement here in Philadelphia. And so what I've always said is that child welfare is a community responsibility. It is not just about DHS. It's about each and every one of us trying to take responsibility and keep children safe. And so that's what improving outcomes for children is actually all about. So we learned a lot. It's funny, I was talking to William a little bit this morning, and he had a child death that defined his role at in New York City's Administration for Children and Families. And sadly, many of us who come into these positions do have a child death that defines our time in a child welfare agency. And ours was Danielle Kelly. And another partner who couldn't be here today is Ed McCann, who is the district attorney who wrote the grand jury report. You know, all of the things that were said about us at that time were true and things that we needed to take into consideration. And we've done a lot of those things. Thankfully, we've had the Community Oversight Board. If the members of the Community Oversight Board who are here could stand so we could acknowledge them. We have Tanya and Phyllis. If you guys could stand so we can say thank you to you. Cindy Christian, our medical director, also here. You know, one of the things that we created, and I think Kathy could probably speak to this better than I could, is new state law right after Danielle Kelly's death was Act 33, the fatality and near fatality reporting process. And we've implemented a great group here. Sam Galino, if you would stand, Sam, our medical examiner, but I would also say the fearless leader, and I do mean fearless, of the Act 33 team. You know, these child deaths are something that stick with you and can be incredibly traumatic, and the staff at DHS who has to deal with these cases day in and day out really struggle, and the Community Oversight Board struggles, but the Act 33 team that includes Ed and Cindy and lots of other folks under Sam's leadership has been really instrumental in us looking at children who suffer fatalities and near fatalities and really clearly learning lessons from those cases and examining those cases really carefully and making sure that we make the changes that are necessary. So I'm not going to stay up here much longer, but I want to say that all of you have a role to play in keeping children and families safe in Philadelphia. Improving outcomes for children is the way we've decided to form communities of hope, as William has talked about, really working with community-based providers to be safe places, community umbrella agencies, where children and families want to go. And one of the lessons of the Danielle Kelly case was that we had a system that was broken. It wasn't about staff at DHS who didn't care about children and families. It was a systemic structural problem that needed to be corrected. And so we've corrected that problem by transforming the way we deliver services to children and families in Philadelphia and really working with families and youth in different ways to use their voices to help define what services are going to be helpful to them, and hopefully creating beacons of hope in the communities that are the community umbrella agencies so that families won't be afraid of DHS, so that families will go to the community right around the corner and get the help that's necessary to keep their children safe and keep their families together. And so this award is terrific, but I think what's more important is the work that we have ahead of us. You know, we're halfway through our transition with improving outcomes for children. We have 5 community umbrella agencies, and we're going to be selecting 5 more. And how we deliver differently for children and families is going to be the thing that's important. And how we continue to work together with our partners at the school district and the behavioral health system and the provider agencies and really honor the voices of children and families who are provided with services in the city is going to make all the difference in the world. So I see my friend Chase Lenfest here too. Chase has let us use one of his amazing facilities in one of the KUAs. And so this is the community partnerships that we're talking about, is everybody can contribute in meaningful ways. And so I just thank everybody for being here. Oh, I have to mention Dr. Schwartz. How could I forget? So the long-suffering deputy mayor who's responsible for managing me, can you imagine how much fun that is? And then Susan sits in on our meetings, and then we both double team him. So Don Schwartz, he's quiet back here, unassuming, an amazing leader, the smartest, most caring, compassionate person that you can imagine, and incredibly patient with a very difficult commissioner. So, and last but not least, it would be an understatement to say for me to say that the mayor has been supportive of DHS and the changes that we've tried to make at DHS. He has always been there every step of the way for us. There have been some struggles and I think some resistance to the changes that needed to be made, but every single time I came to him, he never said no. He asked if it was the right thing to do for children and families, and if it was, I got unconditional support from him and Deputy Mayor Gillison, who also happens to be here today too. So thanks to everybody. I'm really honored to accept this award on behalf of my wonderful staff at DHS and this great city. Thank you for being here.
So you've just experienced a kind of a classic Anne Marie Ambrose moment. She gives all thanks and praise to virtually everyone in the room. I think there were a couple folks who were walking by the door that you may have missed, Commissioner. And then basically, in her own unique way, basically told us, okay, enough celebrating, we got that, and on to the next 5, CUAs and back to work, basically. So that is classic Anne Marie Ambrose. I'd be glad to, any of us would be glad to, if there are any questions from the news media about this announcement today, we'd be glad to try to answer any questions that you might have. Okay. Thank you all very much for being here, but let me lastly say, even more important than your being here, thank you for being there. Thank you for being where you are and the things that you do. Children are safer and more secure. Families are stronger and have a better relationship with our department and with many of our social service providers today than they've had in a long, long, long period of time. And it's because of what all of you do out there and the folks here and thousands of other public servants and DHS and many other departments and agencies. This is a big operation. It's a big city. It has big challenges. None of them are insurmountable for this team we have here. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.